So, what is commemoration? It's a simple concept, but a concept that can take one of infinite forms. And because I'm a tour guide, I'm always thinking about it. But even more so over the last 4 weeks due to Beyond Granite. And as this exhibition comes to a close, the question remains, what does it mean to commemorate? There's a literal dictionary definition, of course, but what does it really mean for the National Mall in Washington, D.C.? The National Mall doesn't necessarily need to have the best or even the median of commemoration. However, since we are the nation's capital, the commemorative art here is looked to as the standard or even the pinnacle of how we commemorate as a nation. The final word for national events and figures, if you will. The beauty of Beyond Granite is that Beyond Granite has opened a gateway for thoughtful and free exploration of what commemoration can mean, look like, sound like, and be like. Each of the pieces is really unique, and the whole exhibition was stunning. This is Vanessa German's piece of Thee We Sing, a commemoration of Marian Anderson's extraordinary 1939 performance at the Lincoln Memorial, but also a commemoration of much more. The archival photos at the bottom here are of people that were there that day at the concert in the crowd. This was one of the first largely black audiences to see a major event at the Lincoln Memorial. In 1939, the Lincoln Memorial had only just been dedicated in 1922, so there were people there who probably remember a time before the Lincoln Memorial, and you can see their faces. Of course, here's Marian Anderson's face as well, 4 times over. The blue bottles are not the gullah culture of the Low Country. If you've ever seen a bottle tree, surely you understand this reference. And even the notes for the song America, also known as My Country 'Tis of Thee, are embedded on her clothes. This is more than a commemoration just for Anderson. It is that, and more. Just about 100 yards east of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial is Tiffany Chung's For the Living. This commemoration is in the form of a world map, and maps have their own sort of visual language, perhaps more universal than our spoken languages. This map shows the global routes, or really journeys, of Southeast Asian immigrants and refugees from the Vietnam War. These journeys were by land, by sea, and by air, all of which are detailed in different color-coded lines. It's stateless, meaning there are no national borders included on this map, but the continents are clearly visible. It's recognizable. But most importantly, Southeast Asia and Vietnam are centered on this map. After thinking about what I've seen here and what I think the artist is trying to convey, this is the one piece that provokes, the most questions in my mind, which I love. So much more to be explored. Also here in Constitution Gardens, adjacent to the signers of the Declaration Memorial, is Wendy Red Star's The Soil You See. This work, in the form of a fingerprint, acknowledges and names chiefs of the Apsasaga Nation, or the Crow Nation, who signed treaties with the U.S. government throughout the 19th century. And that's the artist's fingerprint, Wendy Red Star's actual fingerprint. The red lettering and the fingerprint are made by using frit, or were made by using frit, which is a byproduct of the glassmaking process. So you think about the creation of glass itself, a journey from rock to sand, from sand to glass, and then that glass transform the spectrum into light that we can see, and we can see through and into this piece of glass. It's so close to the signers memorial. The signers of the treaties are really in conversation with the signers of the Declaration, and that's the power of this piece. It also happens to be right in the view shed of the Washington Monument. So this is the one piece that's sort of the most tucked away, but also one of the most powerful. This next piece by Derek Adams is the piece that is probably the most interacted with physically by visitors, people of all ages. This one you can climb on, you can touch, you can interact with, you can play musical instruments, and yes, it's a playground. This playground has one central artwork, a photograph, and actually a stunning photograph. This photo was taken just 5 days after the Supreme Court ruled to desegregate DC schools and DC playgrounds. One side is in black and white or grayscale. The other side is presented in a rainbow of colors. Each photo is the same. They show a playground in the Edgewood neighborhood of DC with kids of different races enjoying playtime, a before and after, if you will, all centered on a moment of transition, desegregation. The after is also represented by the constant flow of kids in the present day, now in 2023, who enjoyed the playground. This is probably the most wondrous of the 6 pieces to watch the public interact with. Probably not a surprise. Kids gravitate to the rainbow color side. And I hope this one finds a home somewhere in a city, maybe even DC after this. Perhaps the most moving installation on a purely human level was Sean Crowley's Homegoing. This is a multimedia piece, as we have the blue blocks acting as the physical component, and we have an audible component playing from the hidden speakers. This installation is an audio-visual commemoration and a mourning. It's a celebration of Black queer church musicians and performers lost during the AIDS epidemic. The music centers spirituality as a route to reflection and, yes, commemoration. It's a very personal memorial, a personal commemoration, and the audio, the musical component, is a huge part of that. You can find the songs online. It's an album of 6 songs under the name Homegoing. In this case, the meaning of this commemoration amounts to more than you can see. And to conclude, and this is a very appropriate end, considering we began with Mary Anderson at the Lincoln Memorial. My Country 'Tis of Thee is one of the songs Anderson sang at the 1939 concert. And Paul Ramirez Jonas's piece here has a strong link and is in fact a direct reference. Let Freedom Ring is an installation that asks us to declare out loud or even quietly to ourselves our personal vision for freedom. This piece also has an audio component, one that is activated by each individual user. These 32 bells play the song My Country 'Tis of Thee, but only the first 39 notes. It's up to the user to pull a lever ringing that 40th and final notes. As the notes progress, you can take a look around the bell here. For reference, it's about half the size of the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia. And when you play that last note, you can exclaim aloud why you rang this bell of freedom. A fitting reflection to this journey defining commemoration.